Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Ditch Decade Diets podcast. I am your host, Lorna, certified food freedom coach and founder of the Ditch Decade Diets Academy. I've spent 10 years in an unhealthy relationship with food, binge eating, over-exercising, and feeling insecure in my body. This podcast is all about helping you get to the root of your food struggles and teaching you how to rewire your brain so you can end binge eating. If you're ready to improve your relationship with food and cultivate more self-love towards yourself and your health, this is the podcast for you. So let's get to it and jump right in. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Ditch Decade Diets podcast. Today I want to talk about how to turn your binge-free days into binge-free months and eventually binge-free years. So the first thing is you got to celebrate every binge-free day. Like, it is a big freaking deal because, let's be honest, it is a big freaking deal, okay? When you are in these cycles of restricting and binging and feeling out of control with food, when you don't binge, like, you need to recognize that that is such a badass thing to do. And when you celebrate having a binge-free day, not giving into the urge to binge, it actually signals the brain that that is way more pleasurable than binging, right? Because right now, your brain sees binging as the most pleasurable thing in the world. It's like, this is what I want. This is what makes me feel good. This is what gives me a dopamine hit. But the reality is you don't want to keep binging. Yes, it feels good in the moment, but there's also so many other aspects of your life, other areas of your life that are impacted by binging, right? Your intimate life, your relationships, your mental health, your physical health, your energy, your mood, all these other areas. So you want to train your brain to see that it is a big freaking deal to not binge. And this is actually what you want for yourself. Right? Because for many years, it was like, no, I want to keep binging. Like, this is what makes me feel good. But now when you have this level of awareness that you're binging and you're done with it, like, you don't want to continue binging, you want to really celebrate those days, celebrate those moments that you don't give in, celebrate those moments that you don't binge. The other thing is to also celebrate the fact that obviously you had a binge-free day, but without worrying about the next binge. Because I remember literally being afraid to like celebrate because I didn't want to jinx myself. So I remember when I was in a program back in 2019 and I like didn't give into an urge, or I, had something like, I didn't binge, or I was able to eat something without guilt. And I was like, I don't even want to share this win because what if like tomorrow I binge and everyone's going to think I'm like doing so well. And then I just had to have a binge, right? And I tell my clients this all the time. Like, it honestly doesn't even matter how big or small your win is. You want to celebrate yourself. It doesn't even matter if you celebrate the fact that you didn't have a binge today, and then tomorrow you binged, because it doesn't take away from the fact that yesterday you didn't binge, right? And it's so easy to dismiss a binge-free day because you're already telling yourself, oh, I'm probably going to binge tomorrow. I'm obviously going to have another binge, or like, whatever it is. So don't worry about future binges. If you want to snowball and turn your binge-free days into binge-free months, you just have to celebrate it is for what it is. Don't not celebrate in fear of having another binge, because that's not signaling the brain like, hey, this is pleasurable, right? So there's that. The other thing is, remember that even just one binge that you don't give into is going to be helpful, because sometimes you might get into this mindset of, there's not even a point of dismissing this one. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, I'm already binging. I had one last week and I had one yesterday, and I had a binge, maybe today. So like, there's not even a point of trying to knock it in tomorrow. And this happened to me because a lot of my binges would happen at night. And I would be driving home from work already knowing that I was going to go home and binge. Like, I already planned it. I had it in my head. I'd be driving home and I already knew that I was going to binge when I got home. And it was so easy in my mind to not even like try to not give in, because I just knew I was going to do it. And I didn't really think that not giving into one urge was going to make that big of a deal, because like I said, well, last week I binged, yesterday I binged. So like, what's like this one urge of me not giving it isn't going to be helpful. And that's not true. Every single urge matters. Every single urge counts. Remember that you want to weaken your urges. You don't want them to become more intense. You want them to be less intense. And you have to remind yourself that every time you don't give in to an urge to binge, you are effectively weakening those urges. And you're going to start to notice, like, even when you do have a binge, it's less intense and shorter in duration. This happens to my clients all the time. And whenever they'll have a binge, right? Especially if they've been working with me for a while. And, I would say, well, can you describe the binge? Like, did you notice anything different? And a lot of the times, they say things like, well, okay, hold on. Okay, maybe it wasn't really a binge. Maybe I was just kind of like overeating a little bit. And I'm like, boom, that's a win. Or they were like, I had so much more awareness and I wasn't so fully checked out. Boom, there's a win. Or they'll say, well, it was like way shorter. Like, normally it would last like hours and hours, and I was able to like pull myself out of it. Boom, a win. And I've literally had clients completely shift their mindset around their last binge simply because I helped them see that even though they binge, they had more awareness. It was maybe more so overeating than this full on, out of body experience moment. So the more that you can commit to celebrating every binge-free day, key point here, without stressing how many binge days you've had, you're going to remind yourself how freaking good you feel not binging. So I mentioned this briefly. You don't want to be counting, okay, I've been binge-free for 2 days. Okay, I've been binge-free for 4 days. And some of you guys might be shocked by that. But again, like, first of all, I never did this on my journey. I never counted how many binge-free days I had, because honestly, like, I see this with a lot of people. It's like, I haven't binged in 5 days. And then you have a binge and you completely discredit all those 5 days. And you just focus on that one binge. Versus, like, the fact that you didn't binge for 5 days is amazing. But when you track it, it's like, then you have a binge and you just completely like dismiss those days, right? So you want to celebrate every time that you don't binge, but it's not a good idea to like track how many days you've been binge free by. So when you do this and you're just celebrating, every binge free day, and you're reminding yourself like how good you feel not binging, you're going to start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I had one of my clients message me in our group chat in my academy, and she's like, it's so crazy how when I don't binge and I wake up in the morning and I feel so proud of myself, like I have to remind myself, like, this is the feeling that I want. Like, it feels so good. I'm so proud of myself. And you want to remind yourself of that, right? You want to see this glimpse of freedom, what it looks like, what it feels like. So all of those binge-free moments, all of those binge-free days is going to lead you into having more binges, more binge-free months, eventually binge-free years, because it's actually only going to get easier to not give into your binges the less time you give in and binge. So celebrate every binge-free day like it's a big freaking deal, because it absolutely is. Celebrate that you've had a binge-free day without worrying about like when the next binge is going to happen. Do not focus on the next ones. Like, just take it one urge at a time. And then continue, like I said, to not be giving into those urges, because you are going to see the momentum building. And it's so, like, it's such a cool journey. Like, I even think back to my journey, and it's so crazy because it was like one day I just like felt so free with food. And there were so many moments leading up to that time. But this is why I don't have a date. Like, I don't have X date at X time. That's when I stopped my binge eating, because I was so busy just celebrating myself and really like feeling all of the wins. Like, every time that I would eat something without guilt, or every time I wouldn't binge, like I would really anchor in that moment. And then it all added up to like one day where I'm like, well, holy crap, like I don't even have any urges. Like, I just feel so free with food. Like, I'll never forget that one time when Andrew and we got engaged at the end of 2019, which is such a magical year, because 2019 was the year that I committed to healing my relationship with food. That was the year we got engaged. And we had a 2-night stay over at this one place. And the second night, Andrew asked me to marry him. It was so magical. And we were out for dinner. And I remember just feeling so much freedom. Like, it was insane. Like, a weekend, like 2 nights, eating out for breakfast, for lunch, and dinner would have literally sent me into a freaking panic attack, especially because I knew I was going to get engaged. Like, long story short. But like, if I knew I was going to get engaged and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't be eating all these foods and then taking photos, like, I would have been a freaking disaster. And I remember just like sitting there across from Andrew, and not only being happy because I knew I was going to get engaged, but just being so happy that I really dedicated that time to healing my relationship with food. And I really dedicated, energy towards like celebrating myself, because all those moments added up to this moment where here I am celebrating, these 2 days with Andrew. And it was just so effortless. Like, even ordering dessert, like, I used to never order dessert, and just like sitting there, like eating dessert and just like stopping when I was full, and then going back to the hotel room and just going for a swim and doing all these things like a normal human being would do. Like, it just felt so easy, and it just felt so free. And so every single moment counts, every urge counts. And I don't think people celebrate themselves enough. I know for myself, like, I am constantly doing this, obviously not with food, but just in general. Like, I will literally just ask myself, like, what am I proud of myself for? I love doing this. Like, it literally makes me feel so good at the end of the day. I'm like, what am I proud of myself for? And just like listing off all these different things, and you don't actually recognize how many badass things you do in a day. Like, I got up on my first alarm, or even if it's like something that you think is small, like I drank 2 glasses of water today, or, it was really cold outside and it would have been really easy for me to just like skip yoga. But you know what? I got into my car, I rolled out my mat, and I did a really amazing yoga class. Like, I'm so proud of myself for that. Like, you just feel so good when you really take time to dissect this and really anchor in all of these moments where you're proud of yourself for, and you're celebrating those moments. Like, all of those moments are going to add up. It did for me, and it feels so incredible. And even just thinking like, January is around the corner, and January 31st of 2019 was really the moment that I went all in on myself, and I healed my relationship with food. And I can't even believe it's coming up on, this is going to be, so 2019 to 2020, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. It's going to be 5 years since I said yes to myself and really went all in. Like, it's crazy. It's so, so, so crazy. Wow. It's wild. But you can start today, celebrating every time you don't give in, without like tracking. Okay. Like I said, like, don't be tracking. That's going to create pressure, but just celebrate yourself. And if you aren't part of my Root and Rewire membership, I would 100% get your booty inside. This is the best community ever. Like literally, if you need to be celebrated, you got to be inside of this membership. Like these ladies are so freaking incredible. Everyone is there to support you. I've had literally clients saying like, this is the first time I've been able to share openly with other people who really understand. Like, I'm ready to do the work. Like, I love this group so much. One person wrote, 10 days binge free. So thankful for this group. Love this whole thread of supporting each other in real time. It's given me hope. We're all in this together. Happy to update and share that the urge passed. I would have given in for sure without the support from you lovely ladies. This whole community, thank you for being there to celebrate my wins and pick me up when I'm down. You give me hope and inspiration, and I feel like I couldn't get through this without you. I was literally just journaling about how this community is such an awesome place to share because we all get it. Different boats, baby, maybe, but the same storm. I knew posting here was the right thing to beat this urge. Thank you so much for instant support. We're in this together and you're bringing me strength. Like literally get your booty inside because these ladies get you. You're going to have support. There's been ladies in there who post like, hey guys, like I'm feeling the urge to binge. And they've literally been able to dismiss their urge because not only, of course, do they have specific tools, right? It's not just like willpowering your way through. Like obviously they have specific tools to be, weakening the urges, but they have the support, they have the accountability. And that is truly, truly a game changer to celebrate your wins. And then also when maybe you've just binged, to pick you back up and to get back on the horse, so to speak, and have you continuing this cycle, because people who commit to themselves and they don't give up are the ones that heal. And this is literally why my membership is 6 or 12 months, because when you commit to 6 months to 12 months of healing your relationship with food, it's inevitable that you're going to conquer because you've made that commitment to yourself. It doesn't mean things are going to be perfect. It doesn't mean that every day is going to go perfectly. Absolutely not. But what it means is that you're committed to doing this. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to do this for a week. I'm just going to do this for a month. No, these ladies in the membership are freaking badasses. They are done with quick fixes. They're ready to end their binge eating sustainably. They're ready to heal their relationship with food for good. And when you commit to 6 or 12 months of healing, it is the most beautiful thing that you can do. This is your home. This is your safe place where you feel seen, you feel understood, and you learn all of the foundational tools to break out of the diet binge cycle. So I'd love to have you inside. I'll leave the link down below so you can read more about it. But thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Have an amazing rest of your day.